Hey everybody, welcome to Ask the Anabolic Doc, starring Dr. Thomas O'Connor, brought to you by his book, America on Steroids, A Time to Heal. And that is available on Amazon.com. He's not in his office right now. He's been mountain biking up in Vermont, so you can't see the cool logos and everything. But he is the world's first and foremost testosteronologist, a new branch of medicine specifically for men. You can find out all about it on the website, testosteronology.com. Now, please welcome from, I think it's the Green Mountain State of Vermont, Dr. Thomas O'Connor.
It is the Green Mountain State, and we're in Stowe, Vermont. I'm moving to a better Wi-Fi position, Ron.
Oh, I thought you said you're moving to Stowe, Vermont.
Yeah. No, well, maybe one day, but this is for this is the best mountain biking in the Northeast, some of the best. We're up here in Vermont.
Right. The poodles, I assume, are with you?
The poodles are there. Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you left them behind, you're bad. Yeah, okay, that's the big one. That's the one I know.
Yep, that's Victor.
You're a good dog dad. You did a video that has allowed me to finally use a video. Oh, there's your mountain bike with the big fat tires. For about 25 years, I've been wanting to use a certain title because I thought it was so clever. Because it's called "Honey, I Shrunk My Balls." After the movie Honey, I Shrunk My Kids with Rick Moranis. But you just did a video on your channel, Anabolic Doc. It was part 3 of a series you're doing on that channel called On Testosterone. And this one was called Testicular Atrophy, which a lot of men seem to be concerned with when their balls shrink down into little raisinets. So I thought we could talk about it because, us men, whatever else is going on in the world, we're still concerned about our genitalia. It's the balls or penis. It's important to us. So what's the dog's name?
This is Victor.
Victor. Okay. Named after Victor Martinez, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at him. I got mine in the next room. So first, doctor, what is the cause? What makes testicles atrophy?
So this is great bro science. So when you take testosterone derivatives or DHT, right, or N9, the nandrolone, any anabolic steroid you take is going to shut down the signal coming out of your brain that maintains your testicles. The size of the testicle, sperm function, semen, and testosterone. Everyone knows the hypothalamus pituitary gonad axis. And so it's amazing that for decades, I mean, God, this goes back to the 30s and 40s, that when you take testosterone, any drug at all that's like testosterone, your brain, so sensitive, boom, it shuts off LH and FSH. And then the testicles will start to, depending on who you are, what you're taking, how long, they'll start to not receive the signal and they'll shut down.
So this, I had assumed it was only from steroid abuse, but apparently you explained in your video that even if you're just on a legitimate TRT dose, something like 100 to 200 milligrams of testosterone a week to bring your own levels into a normal, high normal range or whatever, you still will experience the same result. Your testicles will still atrophy.
Yeah, you should. So look at the comments on that video. I mean, and it's amazing. So a lot of guys, the testicles, most times they don't feel any different unless they can twist and they can pull, they could retract. And that's a bad, when they go up they pull back up into the body out of the scrotum. And, a lot of steroid users have had all these concerns, and it's a weird feeling, and you got to kind of push it down, pull it down. And depending on who you are, a lot of guys have certain congenital situations where they're born where the testicles are not always fully descended. So now that's cryptocodic. That's where they're up in the abdomen and they have to pull those down. There's a risk of testicular cancer and all these things. And I get to review all this with men. And I hear also I have a cyst. My testicle was partially descended and blip. So the testosterone is going to affect that massively. I mean, so I tell guys in the end, when you're on testosterone, I say, welcome to the little ball club. I mean, so every man, Now, men don't come to me and lie, right? Men tell me the truth, but men are never going to openly. My balls are, of course, they're not shrunken. So, but they are. And then a lot of guys go, I don't know if they're shrunken. And then if you examine them, and this is a guy who's been on testosterone for years. And when you're very young, 16, I have so many teenagers coming in now
Oh,
that
wow.
I'm working with pediatric endocrinology doctors, and I'm just flabbergasted.
Hmm.
So like, but those what they're so young, you're resistant to the initial shutdown, Ron.
Yeah.
So it takes some time. Some guys may comment on this. This is phooey. My balls aren't shut down. Well, hold on a minute. These are your balls. So there's going to be a range. There's going to be a range sooner or later. If you're on testosterone, your testicles are completely shut down. You're unless we're going to go into the HCG, I'm sure, in a minute here, and the Clomid and all the
Right.
drugs. Your testicles, after, let's just say, a couple of years or even months, when you're on TRT, I don't care if you're a middle-aged accountant and you're on TRT, or if you're a steroid user, it doesn't matter how you get there. If you're on TRT, your testicles are going to be significantly shrunk, and that's just how it's going to be forever and shut down.
So I'm curious what percentage roughly of your patients are they come to you concerned about this, where they want to do something about it, and how many just say or don't seem to care? They never even mention it.
What a great question. I've had up to 5,000 experiences now, well over 10 years. Um, 95% don't care.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because as I've learned, and again, this is a show of truth. Guys say, "Hey, man, as long as my as long as my cock works really great,
Yeah. I mean, well,
who care?" No, the guys who care are the infertile, right? That's the fertility stuff.
yeah, I'm saying from an aesthetics point of view, obviously, I think we would all be very alarmed if our penis shrunk. Let's be real. I'd be alarmed. Any man would be. But your testicles, who cares? As far as cosmetics,
Fun.
aesthetics, I mean, the late Rich Piana, he used to have some funny sayings, and one of them was your dick should always hang lower than your balls. Remember that? I don't know. You never heard that one? So
I never
therefore,
did. That's funny.
so therefore, he was not concerned with his testicles being shriveled, because who cares? I mean, they're just they're like drapes or something. Who cares? Uh, so, have you ever had a man come to you, one of your patients, saying, "This is horrible. I need to get these fuller looking again"? My wife, I don't think women care, but has anyone said, me or my wife, somebody's really really worried about this? We need to fill them up
So,
again.
so listen, I've had only a very small number of guys. I think in the beginning, men are concerned in the beginning, because they're not used to it, and they want to maintain everything. And then with the potential of using HCG or Clomid or some other drug, can we do that? Because they don't want to let it go. Because you want to have big balls. So it's like, so let me tell you, there's a handful of patients. Let me tell you, one man in his 60s on steroids later in life. I see this too, starting mid-age crisis,
Yeah.
starting steroids in your 40s to 60s. Okay. I'm not kidding.
No, I've seen it.
So, and
Seen it.
so the guy comes in, and he was very well to do, and he was a gay man. I have a lot of incredible, patients all over the world in every walk of social economics. And this is a gay man, very, very upscale man. And he was so upset that his testicles were shrunken, because he was this god. I think he saw himself as he's a great guy, God, this, very good looking, the plastic surgery. Remember, he's in his 60s.
Wow.
Plastic surgery, look, body was incredible, great genetics, ate perfectly. And he's very regimented guy. He came to me, and that was his number one complaint. We have to get a plastic surgeon to, do something about it. And he's already been on HCG, you name it, he's been on it. He went to plastic surgeons in this country against my advice, and no plastic surgeon would sex. The cops, you say, worked great. His cholesterol, blood pressure, his heart was very healthy. I mean, he's very lucky. He was very, very healthy man. And he left the country and went down to South America and had testicular implants.
Wow. Did you follow up with him? Is he okay, or did they get infected?
I did follow up with him because he, a lot of men stay with me for a year or 2 years and they just kind of move on. And he had them removed. They didn't get infected, but they were troublesome. He didn't like them. Did not like them, and he did have them removed in America by another surgeon, a urologist, just a basic, very good surgical urologist. Removed the implants. They were like ping pong balls.
Wow. So they were too round.
Yeah.
They weren't the proper shape.
they pushed up on the existing testicle. They didn't remove his testicle.
Okay.
And he didn't feel good. They might have retracted. I don't know what happened, but he had them removed.
4 balls. Right?
He had 4 balls. Yeah, he had 4 balls. And that was the only, everyone, and I've told, guys have asked, and I very, tell them that story. And I just say, you know what, you don't need the ball. But if a guy has any concern, I send all these men to a urologist. That's a good tip to tell people. If you're worried about that part of the body, you go to I'm a testosteronologist. That's a medical discipline. Yeah. When you're looking at the anatomy of the testicle and that pelvic, please, guys, just go to a very good urologist, because those are surgeons. They're not medical doctors per se. They're surgical doctors.
Okay. Interesting. So the aesthetics, let's throw that aside. So 2 reasons somebody might be concerned with testicular atrophy would be obviously fertility, because if they've shrunken and they're no longer functioning, they're no longer producing, I don't know, any sperm or an insufficient amount of sperm. Would that be accurate to say?
I'm not a fertility urologist, so I'll be careful here. Again, it's a slippery slope. If you do a few injections or a few pills of Anavar, obviously the signals are going to be limited and shut off. But your body, the young man's body fights very strong to maintain homeostasis. So it's all relative, Ron. And you hear bodybuilders having fertility and getting their girlfriends and their wives pregnant because they just come off for a little bit, or they lower doses and they're switching around. So the signals are going to be, increasing, firing. And to be infertile, it's a number. It's less than 15 to 20 million sperm per milliliter in the ejaculate. And they just measure it. They have a microscopic way of measuring. I'm not kidding. So, but the average bear who's 17, 16, 17 to 50, 70, 60, middle-aged man who healthy, he has, I don't know what it is, 50 or 150 million sperm per milliliter. And that's a healthy regular man. It's that much, that's the numbers that high. When you take steroids and testosterone, I've had hundreds and hundreds, if not several, maybe 2,000 guys I've seen sperm analysis. It's all when you're on something, it's just zero. Wow. Or it's like a 1,200 under 10. These are guys even with HCG. We're going to get into that in a minute. Relative to certain doses of HCG on testosterone, and it's just then they look at motility of the sperm. Like, does it have heads moving forward? Is it tails? I'm not a fertility urologist, so I'm not going to. I look at and I just say, look at the count. The summary says, you're infertile, oligospermia. So it just says, and it's very crude. This is a very crude science. Looking at sperm amount, semen analysis, very crude. They talk about parameters, pathological. And I could tell you, you're going to go into this HCG, when you start cranking that up on testosterone, but certainly off, it works. Woo, like a charm.
So the final reason would be the only reason I would give a rat's ass about my balls being smaller is, and we talk about this with Dr. T because we have a pretty crude show we're pretty crass at times. I don't think he means to be, but it's just the way the conversations go sometimes. Semen volume. When your testicles go from this big to this big, your ejaculate volume is significantly reduced. And someone, you know, I'm transparent. I'm very honest. I look back at when I was a younger man, before all the steroids. You know, I didn't start them until I was 27, and yeah, it was like the porn star loads. It was exactly like the porn star loads. And now, nope, no, nothing like that at all. So that's I don't care. I'm not a porn actor, and you know, my wife doesn't seem to care about that. But some guys, have you ever had a patient come to you and say that's the reason I'm really concerned about my gonads?
Yeah, so it's called the ejaculate. The ejaculate, you know, the amount. So absolutely, that's a lot bigger problem for men. Doc, I get called all the time. You know, what can we do anything about that? So you're right. So it's proportional. Your testicles are dormant. They're dormant. They're smaller, reduced in size. The signal from the central nervous system has been shut down. So they're shut down. So, but yeah, you're right. Those in a man, and I agree with that. I realize that. I know that feeling. And as you get older, you're on it for 20 years or so. It's going to be, you know, and then, but it goes in waves, you know. And if you take a few days off from sex, if you don't have sex every day, you know, it's amazing, Ron. Yeah. Testosterone makes men really horny. Come on, 98%.
No, Brooke, we lost you there for a second.
And if you're on, that ejaculate load will be so that's I think is the signal okay, Ron? I think the signal.
Well, the last thing I heard you say was testosterone makes you very horny, but, and then I missed everything else that followed that.
Let me try to move. Okay, this is Vermont, so Wi-Fi. So this might be better here. So when men are on testosterone, I mean, there's no question they're horny, but the ejaculate's going to be reduced. Yeah. There's no question, and that does bother. So you could take a few days off and let it build up a little bit, but who wants to take a few days off? The guys tell me.
So even then, let's from my experience, it's still not like, you know, when I was in my 20s. It's not even then, you know.
So that's all normal. That's all, Ron. It's a reason why, if you're a man and if you don't want to experience that, I would say don't ever start steroids or testosterone, right, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't deal with it, I tell guys that. People come to me and say, you know, I want to start steroids, and I try to run down things like you're going to be on them for the rest of your life, just because I always get these natural guys saying, you know, I'm just going to do one cycle. I go, okay, that's like eating one potato chip. Good luck with that. You're not going to eat one cycle. So you did elucidate in your video that HCG is very, very effective at restoring testicular volume. So what kind of frequency and doses? And also, you said this is not sustainable permanently. It's not, you're not going to get the result forever and ever. It's depending on the individual, I'm sure, as everything is. But what would be a typical dose for a man, a patient of yours, to restore testicular volume?
Very good question. So, you know, so there is data studies for up to about a year where you could take guys on testosterone and give doses, you know, administered on testosterone of HCG, sub-Q or IM, doesn't matter, about 250 to 400 while you're on testosterone to maintain, right? Everyone knows that. And that's like the anti-aging guys, you know what they do. But it works. It works in the beginning. It works, guys. It does work. I had a kid, I did it. But if you go into years, it's called down regulation. Yeah. And it just will lose the effect. And then a lot of guys, who wants to keep doing, isn't injecting once every 4 to 5 days or once a week enough? Don't you forget. So who wants to do multiple injections per week? And if you're traveling, if I'm up here in Vermont, imagine I had to bring, and there's nothing illegal about it. Well, if you don't have a prescription, I guess it is. But I know HCG is only illegal in like half the states. Testosterone is going to be illegal in every state. It's a federal thing if you have no script, but seems like we have bigger fish to fry these days, right? And the legal stuff going on here, but it's still going to be illegal. Be careful, get a doctor. So who's driving around, Ron? You got to put it in the refrigerator because when you reconstitute HCG, right? So testosterone you can carry, but so this is a pain. So look, Ron, guys don't do it. They don't keep up with it. So that's the first part of the question. When you're on testosterone, co-administered HCG, and then you get increased estrogen, and that's a whole other issue. I'm sure we'll go into that. So when you want to get fertile and you're 35 years old and you're on testosterone or steroids, you just stop the testosterone and you take about 1,500 to 2,000 intermuscular units of HCG every other day. So the half-life's very short. Everyone knows you can't take it once a week or whatever, or the twice a week while you're just doing that maintenance when you're on T. You want to get you need to bypass. It's bypassing the brain. It's a luteinizing hormone analog, FSH analog, and it really is more LH analog. Dr. T told me all this, right? And it goes right to the balls and it stimulates those receptors, Leydig and Sertoli. So you increase testosterone output from the balls without the brain. And then you also increase significantly for most men semen. It's amazing. I've seen guys on up to about 2,500 or 3,000 every other day, and they keep checking the semen. I just say just have sex with your wife or your partner, and just you'll have a kid. And most guys, with the grace of God, just works. It's incredible. Of course, the partner and their fertility with the partner is important. The planning, for the ovulation kit. The ovulation timing. Yeah. If you just, because guys, they really don't want to be on HCG. They feel okay, but nothing like being on free testosterone into the CNS. So they want to get the job done. They want to do it. And it's about 1,500, maybe 2,000 every other day. If you're shut down, I have guys that are very shut down. Yeah, buddy. All the trend, equipoise, years of, then you got to reach down deep and hit like 3,000. But when every other day, and that's Dr. Lipschultz from Baylor, he says 3,000, so there he is. He's another doctor doing this, and he's a urologist. So, and he agrees. So in the end, but you're going to have so much estrogen, Ron. Guys you're going to be puffed up. And then, so are you going to start taking aromatase inhibitors? I'm against all that polypharmacy.
Yeah. So you're taking one drug to combat the side effects of another drug, and then you need another drug to combat the side effects from that drug, and it's just like a vicious circle. But you did mention in your video that some guys, we're mavericks, us bro scientists. They figured out they could extend this testicular volume restoration pretty much indefinitely if they just cycle on and off HCG, Clomid ad infinitum. Would that theoretically work?
So you saw that in the video. So I've provided that with these men. I do because these are young men these are young guys in their 20s, and they've been on steroids for 5 years or more, and they've tried to come off, and to get away from it, and they withdraw, suffer. So you got to put them on testosterone for life. And then they're 27, 28, 30 something. They need to have children. So they want to maintain, but they just don't want to live on HCG. So there's no real trial on it, but there's been, think about it. So the body responds like weightlifting, like all this, it responds to a stimulus and it shuts down. So you always want to change something up, right? So I came up with years ago, looking at the bro science, I thought, look, sir, why don't we give you, what do we do? 6 weeks to maybe 60 days of HCG. This is always with testosterone. No data for it, longitudinal data, no outcome data. It's not dangerous per se, though, as long as you're watching the guy for his heart and his red cells and all the internal medicine. HCG, run, come off it, go right on Clomid. But remember, you're on testosterone. So the Clomid withdrawal, the PCT Clomid nightmare of the depression, that's when you're off testosterone and steroids. Your brain is naked, your brain is exposed, and then you're using a selective estrogen receptor modulator that's blocking estrogenic receptors in your brain. That's why guys feel naked off of gear and testosterone mainly, and the signals are being blocked in the brain. Oh, it's going to increase the signals to the pituitary, increase LH, FSH. On paper, you're looking great. That's why guys feel horrible when they use Clomid by itself in a recovery period. I want to make that clear. Now, okay, go back to the guy on testosterone. He's cycling HCG, cycling Clomid, and then off. So I like to do HCG off for 2 months, 6 weeks, on Clomid, off. HCG, off. Clomid, off. Clomid, HCG, off. Always on TRT. I said it for the 10th time. And this worked quite well for a couple of these men that I have in mind, but they're not motivated. It's so much work. I'm talking years. I've been doing this run. I'm 10 years, 15 years, over 10 years, over 10, because I've been doing this since I've been the anabolic doc 2009. So it's 11 years straight up, but I was doing it before. Is a minimal part of my practice. Now it's the only thing I do 24/7. So men don't keep up, Ron. They don't keep up. They keep up for maybe 6 Ron. They don't. And then when they're on, then men in the beginning, I think they feel great. It's so much placebo. I felt great, doc. It was, and then 6 months later, nothing's changed. We're doing the exact site. Maybe we're still on for the guy that takes the HCG straight up. Because I have guys that you have to ethically offer it. And I want to try that, doc. Of course I want to try the HCG dose co-administered with testosterone, could maintain my fertility, my ejaculate, my well-being. I want a little mixed endogenous testosterone with my exogenous testosterone. Okay, there's no studies. It's not, as long as you don't have a heart attack and we hurt you, I mean, that's fine. So we try. I don't have one, there may be 2 men or 3 men, maybe 3 out of 5,000 that have maintained religiously, and that no man has maintained the cycling Clomid HCG off. Clomid HCG off. There was one man, he won't be mentioned. There's one man that he just tapped out, and he said, doc, I don't think he was feeling good. It was swinging him, and then because of the estrogen conversion, the aromatization, and his brain is very sensitive because these are men. People have sensitive brains. He didn't feel well, Ron. He just didn't. He said, doc, I feel great just being on test. And when I'm ready to have a kid, we'll come off test and we'll just blast HCG. Voila.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. These are not dedicated hardcore bodybuilders, because I know guys who will keep up, a regimen of 30, 40 different pills a day, injections every day, twice or 3 times a day sometimes. But these are meatheads I'm talking about. They're not your average bear. They love drugs. Oh, do they love drugs? So injections, like, oh, when can I shoot up next? Yeah. So different.
Years?
Hmm?
For years, Ron?
Oh yeah, years. Absolutely. But this is this is a minority of the population. There's a very small amount of guys who are that, I guess you would call them drug addicts. They're very, very dependent on these various drugs, and I could never do it all those injections personally. That's me, but I'm still doing it every 4th day, which a lot of people say, oh my God, every 4 days you have to do a shot. To me, that's nothing. Still,
let me ask you this, Ron. In the bodybuilding world, everyone knows that the HCG is used not just for PCT, but it's used on steroids. How many guys do you know that you really think are running HCG on cycles? I don't care if it's a bulking cycle or if it's a cutting during the season. How many guys do it? What does it look like? How many the guys do it consistently?
Very few guys I talk to have ever even mentioned HCG except as part of a PCT protocol. I've actually never heard of anyone, not that I've run down a lot of cycles with people, but I've never heard anyone saying they take HCG as part of their bulking cycle or cutting cycle or anything like that. They strictly use it for the PCT purposes.
And let me tell you why. So you and I, you're coming from a camp of experience in the streets. I am too, but I'm coming from a medical camp. And guys tell me they've done it, and they just say it just messes up the other drugs because of the estrogenicity.
Right.
It's estrogenic. So if they're trying to cut and they're cranking HCG, they're going to have more estrogen convert, right? You know that, right?
Yeah. And they don't want it.
And they don't want it, and they don't feel good. and they just don't feel good about. And then again, it's same. It's even worse with Clomid. Guys taking Clomid or tamoxifen when they're on cycle, but tamoxifen is a selective estrogen receptor modulator that is more focused on the receptors of the breast tissue. Yeah, it doesn't work. It's not such a. It doesn't work so much in the hypothalamus, and but it's amazing. Clomid and tamoxifen are the same class of drug, selective estrogen receptor modulator. It's amazing science. This stuff's been, tens and thousands and millions of people are these self experiments.
So takeaway message for all this, guys: if you want to keep your balls, don't ever use steroids, and apparently, never go on TRT. You can have your big balls, I guess. But, and
It's true, right?
And if you're really concerned, there are drugs, HCG primarily, that can restore the volume for a time anyway. It doesn't seem like it's really feasible or practical to try to keep that going indefinitely for the rest of your life. So maybe most of these guys just come to terms with that and say, I don't really need big balls. It's not a big deal.
And and Ron, the other drugs, just to be clear, for the great show that we have for science, there's HMG, right?
Yep.
And HMG is theoretically more of an analog copy of FSH. But see, the two gonadotropins are LH and FSH. Dr. T's going to go bonkers on this, right? He's going to go bonkers on correcting. Well, I mean, there's nothing to correct. It's very simple. Yeah. LH analog, HCG more like LH, but it's also like FSH because it hits the receptors laid in serotoli. So they have to be the same. There's a carryover. It's a very crude, the alpha component, beta units, and Dr. T's going to go ballistic on that. So because he's the molecular guy more than me. I'm a clinical guy more. But then there's human mammillary gonadotropin. Guys love to say this. They love to use it. You can't really get it easily. I know you can get it, but it's probably the stuff you're getting is HCG. They just charge you more money and call it H. I mean, this is all the bro science guys. They tell me I take care of gurus. Gurus are coming in. Gurus are thank you, gurus, for surrendering. They're coming in, which is awesome. And we meet out front, duke it out first. Then I'm just joking.
Surrendering.
Gurus are surrendering to me because they're concerned for their health, not to mention all the people they're fucking up. Good. But it's okay. It's all like Jimmy Carterisms. I'm a Jimmy Carter of the world, still cutting deals. So you have to, right? You got to work in the streets. You got to cut deals.
Yeah.
So HMG, you don't really need it, guys. It does work better for fertility. Fertility urology guys told me this. Whatever. The other two drugs to show off here, Brevel and Ovidril, are recombinant, really expensive copies of LH and FSH, because the HCG and HMG are crude. They come out of the HCG comes out of a woman's urine. They extract it out of the.
That's right.
That's amazing. And it's actually a biologic agent now. So now you can't get it in compounding places. You can only get it in limited pharmaceutical venues and manufacturing. I'm giving everything today. I still get it. We still get it because I have a license. So I just have to get it from a unified source now. And the prices aren't up, but the Obamacare had some provision. I don't know why, where it made at 2020, it designated HCG as a biologic, and now it's very limited. I'm giving all bro side. This is really cool stuff on the internet. Guys call all the time. Can you get HCG? I can't get it. My anti-aging place is getting, they can't get it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's not true. The anti-aging place could get it from some other place, but they want the money themselves, and their supplies are got. So that's it. So Brevel and Ovidril, fertility urology guys use it. I always tell the same story. I had a big pro strong guy 10 years ago that didn't want to use HCG too long because he was really shut down. He was only in his late 20s. And his doctor at Yale that I worked with, I referred him to a fertility urology expert at Yale in New Haven, Connecticut. And he went right for Brevel and Ovidril because the guy had great insurance. He just wanted to get it done. I couldn't believe it. This stuff was like HCG on steroids.
Wow.
But it's recombinantly produced. That's a word. That's how human growth hormone was made. I'm giving you guys all the secrets today.
Right.
This is science. So it's very expensive technology. So it's like growth. It was like $4,000 a month.
Oh God.
His insurance, the guy did the prior auth, and his insurance paid for it.
Wow. Good
And he
job.
cranked out a kid within I think 2 weeks. It was boom.
Wow, that is service, doctor. That is some real service. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your vacation up there in Vermont, your mountain biking excursions, to talk about shrunken balls. But who better to answer these questions? You're the only guy I would come to with these questions. I wouldn't trust anyone else to give me the correct answers. So I want to encourage everyone to check out the channel Anabolic Doc on YouTube. Anabolic Doc, excellent videos dropping every week. Check out the website testosteronology.com. Doctor is doing telemedicine on Zoom, FaceTime with people all over this wonderful world of ours. Doesn't matter where you are, and there's not many people in the world that can give you the type of advice and treatment that this man can. So that's where to get a hold of him, testosteronology.com. Thank you so much, Dr. O'Connor. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ron.
Ride those trails, guy. Ride those trails, but be safe. I don't want any more torn pecs or anything. Please.
Oh, God, Ron.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Ask the Anabolic Doc with this man, Dr. Thomas O'Connor. We'll see you next time.